In this video, I'm going to introduce you to the concept of a method signature, as well as show you how you can do something called overloading a method. Now, this may seem like a kind of weird concept at first, but don't worry, it's actually not too difficult to understand. So, the purpose of this program that I'll use to demonstrate the concept is we have 4 buttons. This first button is going to add whatever numbers are in these 2 text boxes. The second button will add whatever numbers are in these text boxes. And then this button will add the numbers in all 4 text boxes. And then lastly, this button will add these 4 numbers together, and it will output like a little message box notification. So, let's get started. I went ahead and initialized all the buttons already, so that's one thing taken care of. Now, please do keep in mind that the way I'm doing this program, it may not be the most efficient way to achieve my goal of making their different buttons work. However, it's something which I think is an effective way or an effective tool to show you, I guess, how overloading of methods works and how it relates to the method signature. So a method signature, basically it means it's something that defines a method as unique, kind of like its thumbprint. So when you have a method, like when you create a method called private, I don't know, let's say it's a return statement, and then let's say add numbers, we'll just call it that, and we'll say num1, num2. And of course we need to give it data types. I'm just putting this statement in just to get rid of the error message, because if I don't have this, then we got an error message right here. So, anyway. So a method signature is a combination of a few things. The first part of a method signature, which is really important, is the name of the method. So add numbers is the name of the method. The decimal and the private and all the content inside here, none of those things are part of the signature. It's just the name of the method, and it's also the arguments. So let's say, for example, we have different methods. I'll just make a couple of duplicates. We have problems here because the signature between this method and this method and this method, they're all the same. So we can't have that. We can't have multiple methods with the same signature. So in order to change the signature, you have to change maybe the method name, like so. Or, actually, hold on. Like so. Yeah, there we go. Or what we can do, and this is the point I'm trying to get to ultimately, is we need to change the arguments. So right now we have 2 decimals. What if we changed it to be instead 3 decimals? Well, then we have changed the signature of this method, and now we're good. What if we wanted to switch one of them to be passed by reference instead? Well, there we go. We've updated the signature. So now each of these 3 methods has a unique signature. The signature is a combination of the name of the method, the the type, so decimal versus maybe ref decimal, versus integer versus string versus something else. And it's also a function of how many arguments there are. So we just add an extra 3rd argument, which makes this method signature unique from this one. And keep in mind, what also matters is the sequence or the order by which the arguments are listed. So, for example, if we have a decimal and an integer over here, and then down here we have an integer and a decimal, well, that's also perfectly fine. We still have a decimal and an integer in both of these method arguments, but they're in a different sequence. Up here, decimal is first, and then down here, integer is first. So that's another way to make a unique method signature. And this act of making unique method signatures like so, this is what we call overloading. Now, for our example, what we want is one method that's associated with each button. We need a method that takes in 2 numbers and adds them, a method that takes in 3 numbers and adds them, a number that takes in 4 numbers and adds them, and then a method that takes in 4 methods and a string. So this is pretty easy. I'll do this, I'll pause the video and then take care of this so you don't have to watch me do everything manually, but it shouldn't take too long. Give me a second. Alright, all done. So as you can see, every single one of these methods has the same name, but a different number or type of parameters or arguments. See? And we have a return statement that just adds the parameters up and returns whatever that equals. And for this last one, we have an additional parameter of a string, like so. Just to show you that you can have multiple types of data in there, like not just decimals, but strings too. So I'll go down here and write some code to call the methods one at a time. So this button will call the first method up here. The second button will call the second method. Third button will call the third method, and the fourth button will call the fourth method. So I'll do this right now quickly. I'll show you the first one and then do the rest on my own with the video paused so you don't have to watch. Just FYI, the text boxes on our form, they're named text 1, text 2, text 3, text 4. Alright, so again, what we did here is we signed our, here we go. We signed our first two text box values to n1 and n2. Then we called our method using 2 parameters. And of course after we call the method, we need to convert it into a string before we can output it to a message box. But that's the general premise of how this code works here. So I'll replicate this for the next 3 methods and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, we're all done. So this is the final code that should work. And so what we have here again, we start off by assigning values to specific numbers and then using those numbers to call the correct method. And depending on how many arguments we have, that will determine which method we call, or which of these methods gets activated. So down here we have our method that adds all 4 numbers and outputs a string. The string is going to be called, or is going to say, preparing to add. So let's take a look and see what this code looks like when we're actually running. So we'll go ahead and do 5 and 2. And we got 7. Alright, let's add 12. We'll add 1 through 3. We got 19. What if we go back and do this add 1 to 2 again? We still get 7 because it only added these 2 numbers right here. Because we called the method that's specifically designed to only add two numbers together. And then let's add another number in, let's say, I don't know, let's say 4. Add all of them together and we got 23. And then lastly we'll do add 1 to 4 with message. It sends out the string message that we created, and then it outputs the result. So take a look at this code. I'll go through the entire thing. I'll scroll through the whole entire code if you want to review it from scratch. From the top to the bottom, it is like so. And just make sure you're familiar with how this works, how the overloading method calls work, and how each call is linked to a specific method, like that one. Or how, this particular method call is linked to this method up here, because it has 4 decimals and a string, which is what we're passing in here, 4 decimals and a string. So hopefully this explanation was useful, and I will see you next time. Have a good day. Take care.